Thank you for coming to our presentation. I'm Tomohiro Fuji. We are going to speak about Japanese adverbs, uh, focusing on agent-oriented adverbs. Let us start with some basic data from English. English exhibits a closer manner distinction with regard to the interpretation of adverbs. For example, in 1a, rudely she left, the agent-oriented adverb rudely occurs higher than tense. The interpretation we get is that she was judged rude because of her leaving. If she hadn't left, she might not have been judged that way. This reading is called a closer reading. Let's next look at 1b, she left rudely, where the adverb is attached in a lower syntactic domain. Here, only a manner reading is possible. So she left in a rude way. Finally, when the adverb is found in a middle field, both clausal and manner readings are possible. Okay, how does this clausal manner distinction hold in Japanese? As noted in the previous studies listed here, Japanese has adverbs suffixed with the focus particle mo, and they only allow clausal readings, while their counterparts without the particle only allow manner readings. Let us call those two types of adverbs ADV mo and ADV. Let's look at examples. 2a 太郎は正しくもお釣りを数えた means it was correct of Taro to count the change. Only a clausal interpretation is possible. When we remove more, we get 太郎は正しくお釣りを数えた. It means Taro counted the change precisely. The manner reading becomes available and the clausal reading goes away. In her 2015 paper, Kubota proposed the semantics of mo. She attempts to derive the meaning of ADV mo from the meaning of the manner counterpart, ADV. A note in passing, mo has multiple uses. So it has the additive use, as in 3, and it forms negative priority item by being combined with WH words, as in 4. The use of mo relevant to the current discussion is characterized as exclamatory use of the particle in Japanese conventional grammar. One example is in 5, 太郎も大きくなった, Taro has got so big. However, it's not clear at this point how mo of ADV mo is related to other uses of the particle. So we won't dwell on this matter any further in this presentation. Coming back to the main theme, our main concern is the syntactic distribution of ADV mo and how the distribution can be explained. In what follows, we show 3 main findings. First, ADV mo cannot be attached within large VP. Second, ADV mo requires a local tense. Third, ADV mo can adjoin to small V verb. Kubota 2015 argues that ADV mo always adjoins to T verb. We argue that it's too strong. Here is a roadmap. In the next section, we see 3 generalizations about where ADV mo can occur and where it cannot occur. Before looking at the first generalization, let us mention Arndt's observation on the relative word order ADV mo and ADV, manner adverb. He observes that, as in 6a, ADV mo can precede manner adverb. 太郎は、愚かにも理路整然と、質問に答えた。太郎 stupidly answered the question articulately. This is fine. Arndt points out that when we reverse the order of the 2 adverbs, then the acceptability of the example decreases. 太郎は理路整然と、質問に愚かにも、答えた。If not completely bad, the sentence is degraded. This fact can be dealt with by Ernst's semantic-based theory of adverb rather nicely. His account is based on the FEO calculus. The account goes as follows. Clausal adverbs select for the semantic type event, while manner adverbs select for specified events. Specified events can be turned into events quite freely by type raising, but events cannot be turned into specified events. This derives manner adverbs' inability to get combined with a constituent that contains a clausal adverb, as shown in the right-hand side tree diagram. Ernst's observation is about the relative word order of the two adverbs. There is in fact evidence that ADV mo, even in isolation, cannot occur in a certain syntactic domain. In 7a, the focus particle sura or sae, meaning even, is attached to the verb answer. Here the manner adverb articulately can be focused. So the sentence can mean Taro answered questions articulately. The event of Taro answering the questions is less likely to take place in that manner, something like that. In contrast, ADV more, stupidly more, in 7b cannot be focused. So it cannot mean Taro answered the question, and it's less likely to describe Taro's action as stupid. This contrast about focus association between ADV more and ADV suggests that ADV more is outside the segment domain of the focus particle even under the segment condition on focus association like the one we see on this slide. So the first generalization is that ADV more cannot occur within a verb phrase, even though we cannot tell whether this verb phrase is small VP or large VP at this point. Now turn to the second generalization. Second generalization concerns adverbs orientation, especially that in passives. 8 is an example from Kubota, 2015. The agent argument of stupidly more cannot be John, which is marked with a dative particle. This is a biphrase of the passive sentence. The agent must be the surface subject, Mary, here. So in the interpretation we get is it was stupid of Mary to have been hacked by John, not it was stupid of John to have hacked Mary. So this is Kubota's observation. Kubota approaches this fact, proposing that ADV mo cannot be adjoined to small beaver. It must be adjoined to T-ber. And this fact follows if we assume that the DP, denoting the subject-oriented adverbs agentive argument, must segment the adverb. So in TP, the service subject can segment ADV more, but in little VP, there is no adverb that the spec small VP can segment. Then the fact in 8 follows. Notice, however, there are cases where the deep subject-oriented reading is possible. Please look at 9. 政府によって愚かにも新しい駅が田舎町に建てられた。A new station has stupidly been constructed in the rural town by the government. This is a passive sentence. whose surface subject is non-human new station, and the byphrase is headed by the postposition によって、政府によって。The government can be understood as the agent of stupidly in this example. We will discuss what causes this difference between this example and Kubota's example. But right now, the grammaticality of 9 suggests that ADB more can be attached below spec small vp if we assume that the deep subject, the government, is connected to spec little vp position in one way or another, then the grammaticality of the sentence follows if 愚かにも stupidly も can join to Weber. Situation can be schematized this way. Let us turn to the third generalization. 10 shows that ADB more cannot modify causative complements taken by affixal verb させ、店長は太郎に、正しくもお釣りを数えさせた。So this sentence means it was correct of the manager to let Taro count the change. It can't mean it was correct of Taro to do it. Okay? So let's assume that the complement of sase is a bare VP following many works in the literature. Then we can propose that the reason for the absence of the embedded reading of this sentence is that ADB more requires local tense. So the embedded clause lacks tense here. So we think that this is the reason for the absence of the embedded reading. Notice that this analysis of example 10 give us a clue to understand why Kubota's passive example 8 lacks the deep subject-oriented reading. The key seems to be that 8 is an instance of the ni passive. As widely accepted, the ni passive in Japanese involves biclausal structure. If the passive morpheme rare can take non-finite clausal complement, as the diagram on this slide suggests, the lack of the deep subject-oriented reading can be treated on a par with the lack of embedded reading in the sase causative construction. Okay, so details aside, when the ADV mo appears in the complement of rare, it's not local to T. We can explain the absence of the deep subject-oriented reading in this example that way. Okay, 11 is a summary so far. Diagram A shows ADV mo cannot occur within verb phrases. B shows ADV mo can be attached to beaver in niyotte passives. C indicates that ADV mo cannot be attached within causative VV complements. It requires a local tense. And notice here, we left open the exact label for the domain in which ADV mo cannot appear in the diagram shown in A. But now we independently know that ADV mo can be attached to little beaver. So the verb phrase in diagram A must be large BP, not small BP. So now we are in section 3. The remaining question is exactly what kind of locality is involved. How can we explain the distribution of ADP more that we have seen. So here we will propose a phase-based account of the three generalizations, and then go on to discuss some loose ends in the next section. The phase-based account goes as follows. So 12b is a standard definition of transfer domain. Complements of phase heads undergo transfer. What we propose is given in 12a, it says ADB more must be in the same transfer domain as T. Let's see how this proposal works. So diagram A schematizes the generalizations that ADB more cannot be generated inside large BP. So here, large BP is a transfer domain, as the curved line indicates. This correctly prevents ADB more from occurring in the same domain as T. Next, the situation shown in B indicate that ADB more can be adjoined to Beaver in passives. After large BP is transferred, no category undergoes transfer until TP. So ADB more and T are in the same domain. So ADB more is successfully licensed. Diagram C represents the case of causative Sase. If ADB more is adjoined below a COSI argument in the embedded small BP, then T is excluded out of the transfer domain that contains ADB more. So the large BP is transfer domain, so T is excluded. So the ungrammaticality follows. Before concluding the talk, we'd like to mention some remaining issues. First, there are a lot of questions as to how to characterize the licensure of ADB more. For instance, it's possible to think that C rather than T is a licensor. In 11, we have 太郎は花子が愚かにも薬物に手を染めるのを望んでいない。Taro didn't hope that Hanako would stupidly lay her hand on drugs. Here, ADB more occurs in a tensed embedded clause. This kind of example doesn't tell us whether C or T is responsible for licensing ADB more. To decide the matter, one might look at examples like 12, where the complement might be bare TP. 太郎は花子に愚かにも薬物に手を染めてほしくなかった。太郎 didn't want Hanako stupidly to lay her hand on drugs. If this example is grammatical, we can conclude that ADB more can be licensed by T alone. Unfortunately, however, the judgment is not so clear as we hope. So further investigation are needed definitely. Okay, the second ancillary issue has to do with the definition of domain where local T or C is required. First, there are different definitions of transfer domain or spell-out domain in the literature. Present proposal might not work in those definitions. In addition to this, we might want to say the relevant locality, local domain for ADB more is rather traditional close-mate condition. As we saw earlier, ANS 2002 proposes that clausal adverbs cannot precede manner adverb for semantic reasons. He also proposes that inside VP, only event internal modification is possible. That means clausal adverbs cannot occur inside a large BP for semantic reason. So if that's the case, then the diagram shown in A can be excluded for semantic reason. Okay? Then all the syntactic locality condition has to explain is the grammaticality of the diagram B and the ungrammaticality of the diagram C. And here, the close-mate condition works. In B, there is no closer boundary between T and ADV mo, and in C, this is a passive case or ni causative case. There is a boundary between ADV mo and T, and so the locality condition might be close-mate condition. Okay, the last open issue we'd like to mention is about the nature of necessity of local T or C for ADV mo. As Nakao observes that there is another particle that forces closer readings of those predicational adverbs in addition to mo. It's koto. In 13, 懸命にも and 懸命なことに both only allow closer interpretation. In the introduction, we saw mo of ADV mo is labeled as exclamatory in conventional Japanese grammar. The particle koto happens to occur in a certain kind of exclamative construction. So this apparent connection of ADV mo with exclamation might give us a clue to understand the nature of the function of mo in ADV mo, but no concrete suggestion can be made at this point. Okay, let us wrap up the presentation. We made 3 observations on the distribution of agent-oriented adverbs of the form ADV mo in Japanese. These adverbs largely behave in such a way that Ernst semantically based theory would expect they do, except that they need to be local to tense or complementizer in a certain way. Thank you for your attention, and we'd like to thank the organizers of the conference for their efforts to make this online meeting possible. Thank you.